We do have some seats up in the front here for those who need them. Come on down. Plenty of seats up front. We've got $20 bills taped under the seats on the side. Make your way to the. Good morning. Welcome all of you to our fifth and final session on public education in Little Rock. We have had a good series. I've had some wonderful speakers, wonderful discussion, and we're glad that you're here for this final session. Greg Adams, who's been our moderator, is out of town today, so I'm filling in that role. And our speaker is Mike Ford. I'll say a word about Mike in a minute, but he suggested that he speak from here so we can kind of point to his slides. So that's why I was shifting a little bit this morning. Again, come on down, folks. We've got plenty of room here in the front. It is probably appropriate that Mike Ford is our speaker for this final session because he is our leader for the future in terms of public education in Little Rock. Mike was elected as superintendent of the Little Rock Public School District in June of 2016. I keep on calling him Michael, but he said, don't call him Michael unless you're mad at him. So even though my notes say Michael, I'm trying to call him Mike. So Mike became superintendent of Little Rock School District in June of 2006. Came to us from Bentonville, where he served there as superintendent for 5 years. Mike moved to Arkansas in June of 2011, became superintendent of the Bentonville Public Schools, and he's been in education for 32 years as a teacher, coach, athletic director, assistant principal, and executive director. He served as deputy superintendent school system in Colorado Springs, Colorado, and was superintendent of the Sheridan School District in Denver, Colorado. Mike's wife, Mary Ann, is here. Would you please stand so we can welcome you? Again, we're delighted to have Mike Ford here. Let us welcome him to Second Church in Little Rock.
Good morning, everyone, and it is a real pleasure to be here this morning. And thank you so much for having both Mary Ann and I here today and for doing this series. We're very appreciative of the opportunity to talk about public education, but appreciate the fact that you took this deep approach into looking at education from multiple angles so that you can all start to think and formulate opinions. And I'm sure that at the end of my presentation, there'll be some questions that will end up revolving from all the things that you have learned from previous speakers that you may want to follow up on or look at. When you look at just a phrase that we're using within the district right now, it's called the power of us. And I'm the kind of person that you just have to understand that if you look at some things, and I know there are many people that say, well, we just gave a whole bunch of charter school seats away, and we've got a declining budget, and I am not the person to go put his head in the sand and say, woe is me. My belief is that one person can make a difference. I'm going to ask each of you to think about that in terms of what you might be able to do for this school district, for the children of Little Rock. One person can make a difference. And of course, it can be even a bigger deal when you have a collective action of things that go on. And there are multiple things going on in our community that we ought to celebrate. One of the things we do with every one of our meetings that we hold is we start with celebration. The very first thing we do on every meeting, doesn't matter whether it's a meeting of 4 people or it's a group like this. And so one celebration, just to let you understand a collective action that brings change. St. Anne's Anglican Church supports Wilson Elementary. It's just one example of multiple faith-based communities. What St. Anne's does, really cool thing for that school that has 95% free reduced lunch. I walked in there the very first time into Wilson Elementary right before school started, and here's what that church was doing. One, they gave out backpacks to every kid. Next, they got every kid fingerprinted so that they would be safe at home and at school. Third, they had real dentists there to do screening. And they had a tooth fairy outside to make the kids feel better about that as well. They had doctors that were there that were ready to go and do health screening, and they were from Children's Hospital. And the very last thing that that church did was they had people there to fit the kids for clothes. And they not only had them try them on, but they had even a seamstress there. That's a group making a big difference. And that's happening all over the city. But that story doesn't get told very well. And one of the things that you have an opportunity to do today as you listen to this bald-headed guy that's come into your community and jumped in headfirst to be a part of all of you, is you have choices that you get to make about what is the message that you will leave with to go talk to others related to the Little Rock schools. All of us have the opportunity to go have an impact as an individual, but we also have the opportunity to go create a collective good, and we also have the opportunity to go move others. Because you're going to see other people later in church today. You're going to talk to your neighbor across the fence, or maybe at the grocery store. And what is the message, the story that you want to tell about the Little Rock District? Well, keeping on with that mode of celebration, it's really been a pretty amazing time in terms of just interactions. Interaction with the community, interaction with businesses, interaction with individuals. We've done things like taking walks throughout the community, listen and learn. Some of you probably heard about that. In July, we walked when it was 114 degrees. Now some of you might say, he's touched. Okay? And maybe we are, because I think you have to have that kind of passion, that kind of intensity, that it really doesn't matter whether it's 114 or if it's raining, which was another one of our days, or just recently this week we walked through the south of the Main Business District with 4 elementary schools. Because walking and talking, it can't just be about trying to do it at the beginning of something. It's about a commitment. Our former governor probably gets that as well as anybody. That you don't just go do something while you're getting elected, or do something as you come in as a superintendent to try to have as a part of your entry plan to have a check mark. It's about continuing that and making sure that you continue to reach out to people like yourself and go walk the community. We've had, I'll go back on the slide of these community walks. It's kind of amazing, and there's 2 stories I should highlight. One is that we don't ever tell people to come, but guess what happens now? Every time we go on a community walk, we just put it out there, and we have 30 or 40 people show up walking with us. We look like, you all faith-based, we look like a religious revival ready to happen. Okay? And we got t-shirts and everything out and moving. Here's a cool story, though. Look at this one right here. We're in one of the more challenging areas of our city. This gentleman right here, can't see him very well, is Principal Philip Carlock at Stevens Elementary. We were walking, we were knocking on doors. One of the things that happened is we talked to a young man that came out. This will signify a little bit of a challenge, but also signifies an opportunity. The young man, probably 24, 25 years old, came out, and he said, we had talks like we always do, do you have children in the district? He says, I do. Well, what do you think about the district? And he goes, well, you better talk to my mom. The reality was that grandma was raising kids. Grandma came out, and we found out that she's actually raising probably 6 different children, if I remember correctly, from 3 children of her own. So we sat and talked to her, and she had an issue. One of the kids wasn't getting to go to Stevens Elementary. I don't know why that happened, and it probably is something on both sides, but we just took her information. We walked away, and as we walked away, Mr. Carlock and I said, hey, Mr. Carlock, did you see those grandkids? Now, Mr. Carlock's trying to impress me, because, I'm new, and he's actually a new principal. So he started to think, well, he had different things that he started to bring up. I said, no. Did you see those kids had Otter Pops? Freezer Pops. And I said, so we started laughing. I said, do you remember how you try to fool your mom because you knew how many that she would notice? If you took too many, she would get on you. So we had that conversation going back and forth. We're about 100, 200 yards away. And you know what ended up happening? That grandma sent her kids up. This is a lady that's very little. Sent her kids up to give Mr. Carlock an Otter Pops. You know what happens? Our community is not caught up in who's in control, who has power, who doesn't. They just want the best for their kids. And I bet you that's where you're at too. It's not about trying to gain control or who has power, who doesn't. It's about how do we make a difference for kids each and every day. And so I'm having a wonderful time getting to interact with young people and being out and getting to read and do a variety of different things. And I know many of you are helping us with that as well. So it has been an awesome start to my tenure as your superintendent. I really enjoyed it. But I would be remiss if I didn't bring up challenges, and I know that you've heard some of these things from a variety of different speakers. So you look at these challenges, and one of the first ones is, for us to get local control back, we've got to take care of things in terms of the academic year. Now, how this was set up in terms of academically distressed, state takeovers and all that happened a long time before even Governor Hutchinson came into power. And basically what it really means is we've got to get our 5 distressed schools out of that academic stance. It's an awful term, it is what it is, but we've got to move them forward. Now the first time that we could actually move things forward, possibly get local control back, would be this summer after the test results come back. So that could happen as early as July, but I'm telling you that has to be like everything perfect has to happen in order to move those schools up. On the same end, you can see that we have other schools that also are listed as having academic challenges. And we can't allow those schools to draw back, and later you're going to hear me bring up things that we need to do. We have multiple campuses that have facility challenges. 1 high school out of 5, 1 in our district has air conditioning in their gym. We have HVAC units. Stevens Elementary has a bigger utility bill than Central High. Figure that one out. We got buildings that leak. We have parking lots that no one even wants to pay attention to because you think, well, we got to do other things, bigger things. But I always have people say, can you just fix the parking lot? Okay? The next thing is we know we need a equity of support, a wraparound. And that's really, you're going to hear me talk about this in a deeper way. The faith-based community and others that are part of social organizations stepping forward and helping, making sure that all schools have levels of support for families that need that little extra help because they're busy or they don't have that time. We have a big issue at the middle school. That's where we typically lose the most students. I see a lot of people that are young families in here. And when you think of middle school, it freaks you out a little bit. My wife is a middle school counselor by trade. And one thing that we know about middle schoolers is they've got about 5 things happening inside them that are going zing, 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 zing. Okay? And as parents, you want to have a situation that you feel like there are people that really care about it, that there's a safe environment, and that they're being engaged as a learner. And you'll hear me address this in just a minute, but our challenge is that we are losing more kids at the middle school than any other place. We have antiquated business systems. Many of you have tried to possibly call us. Now imagine if you're a business owner and someone tells you that it's going to take 2 years to get a phone system in. That's where we're at. But there is a clear line drawn right now that somebody better have all this done by Christmas because that's aggravating to you as parents. We have another system that's never been adopted. We're the only school district in the entire state that hasn't moved forward on something that's called eSchool. eSchool allows interaction between parents, it allows scheduling, it allows online registration, it allows communication, and this district, for whatever reason, never moved forward on it. Backed away from it. We are moving forward on that, as well as eSchool Finance, which will give a better opportunity for everybody to monitor what we're doing with our finances so that we can be transparent. Obviously, we're losing desegregation funds. I'll cover that in a minute. And the final thing is the perception issue of where we're at in the district. And I'm hoping that today will help with that a little bit, some things that you'll be able to go out and again, take and talk across the fence or later in church. So our DSEG money, you can see that we have $37 million that's coming out of our budget right now. You can see that there's a variety of things that have occurred in terms of having us already tighten up. Mr. Curris, who's one of the individuals that obviously spoke to you, did a really good job of putting together budget type things to tighten that budget. But we've got more to do. We've got an additional $10 million or more to try to reduce for this upcoming year. And many of you already have seen this, but these are the proposed budget reductions. Now, one of the things that we also did is these came out from myself and my administrative team. We also asked the public to pitch in. And we did a week-long thing, and all that is being tabulated right now to say, what else should we look at or could we be looking at? To be honest, most of the people that replied on the web really talked about these things more than they talked about new ideas, because they wanted to kind of throw in their weight of what they thought. Staffing, I know that in many cases for a parent, they think, oh my gosh, they're going to increase class size. Well, the reality is, just being honest and transparent, yeah, we are. But let me tell you what is the reality. The reality is that in a high school setting or a middle school setting, by the state rule, you can have up to 30 kids. I have walked our hallways. Out of all the middle school and high school, I've only been in one classroom that had 25 students. We're budgeted on a number that the state establishes, which is a good thing, because the state does have a cap in terms of enrollment for everything from kindergarten to high school. It's 20 for kindergarten, 30 for high school. And it's not that we can go put 30 kids in every classroom. It's not physically possible, but we can staff at a better number, maybe trying to get to 25 in a classroom. Central High only has probably 10 rooms in that whole place because it's an older building that actually could even house more than 25 students. So the $3 million, that's if we do everything perfect in terms of staffing. It'll probably be a little bit lower number. Second item is, next two items, I'll mix those together, transportation. Those are probably check marks that will happen. One transportation cost we have right now is that we move kids from Little Rock District to Pulaski School District. We also move them to the North Little Rock. And that will end because the desegregation funds have ended. So we'll stop that. We also will tighten our own transportation and do better at that. And by doing those two things, we can generate, as you can see, almost close to $3 million. We are looking at various stipends. I can tell you there might be some teachers in here. This is the one that probably came back the most dramatic in terms of people saying, please don't do anything with National Board certified teachers. National Board, that's the MBCT. And that's a special thing. It's almost like getting an extra master's degree. This district, we pay people a stipend that's much higher than anywhere else. It's $5,000 additional money each year. Just to give you a sense, in Bentonville, I believe we were at $3,000. So, and Bentonville was one of the highest, but this district is at $5,000. The other thing, in terms of AM and PM, this district currently gives people stipends to do duties. Most school districts, that's just a part of the expectation of the contract. Next item is health insurance reduction. This one's really challenging, but it also, you need to understand it in context. For every $25 we take away from the district contribution, we save about $1 million. The challenge to this one is that health insurance costs are going to rise this year. And so it's a difficult one to think about. Really, all these are difficult to think about, to be honest with you. But if health insurance is rising, and then we take out a little bit of our support towards the employee, it really impacts folks, and it really hurts the people that get the least amount of money. So folks that are classified employees, secretaries, custodians, that type of thing, those type of things, that type of reduction hurts them more. But here's the reality again. Little Rock School District previously it was $350 contribution. We now have dropped it to $275. Again, give a comparison, Bentonville, we were about $175, and again, we were one of the top 5 in the state. Little Rock had far exceeded anyone else in terms of this employee benefit. So do we do this or not? These are all just options and considerations. Next up, the one that we want to hear more about, and I will cover it in more detail, school closures. We could close up to 3 to 4 schools. The reality in different board zones, board zone 1, which is kind of on the eastern part of our district, we have 48% less students in board zone 1 than what we had in 2010. And it's not just Little Rock students, this isn't a charter thing. This is just less students in that board zone than what there previously was. Right now, we have 2,300 excess elementary seats in our district, and that doesn't count the use of portables. If you add in portables, we have 54 portables in our elementary schools. So if you add those in to the mix, now we have almost 5,000 excess seats at the elementary level. Privatization of services, that really would put custodian and food service into having someone manage that program instead of the district, and that could save us about $1 million. The next one is another one of those check marks that everyone will expect us to cut at the central office, and we will do so. We already had 2 resignations this last month, and we did not fill those positions. We just had to rearrange and move forward. And then I know legal expenditures, but this is one that's been on the docket for a long time, of actually having our own lawyer to try to help us cut down on some of the expenses, and we believe that could be at least $100,000 worth of savings. How do you overcome some of these budget issues? And many of you probably know this better than I do in terms of just the things that you do. First off, you kind of have to think about this is that, you have to adjust, just like you as a family. If all of a sudden the wife who's having a child decides, I'm not going to go back to work, and her salary is $50,000, you have to adjust. If you, husband or wife, goes to the dream job, but it's $20,000 less, you adjust. We will have to adjust. We're going to try to be very transparent and inclusive. So as we do this, there'll be additional things where you can help rank what you think makes the most sense to make a reduction, and what you hope doesn't happen. You will have that opportunity. You will also have the opportunity through our process, and it's on our website right now, to be able to attend in every zone, typically are community centers, to give input in terms of school utilization. And I'll cover school utilization because it's immediately you always think closure, but it's actually much more than that. There is a timeline element that we have to think about. The timeline is that parents need to make decisions. We've got to make decisions. There's time where you have to make decisions for your staffing. So there's a whole sequence of things. But one of the first things is really we're going to have to make several key decisions by the month of January. Right along with that, I want to make sure that everybody understands, again, not time to stick our head in the sand, not time to give up. We can do things to move forward. You're going to see me focus on this. We can restructure our debt, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute, to try to create capital funds for us to use for all of our buildings. We can create community support, and obviously we can do everything we can to impact PR. So here's some things that we're looking at in terms of kind of foundational things of trying to move forward. And I'm going to put up 4 different things here. The Achieve team, and later on if you want to either ask questions or come up talk to me, the Achieve team is really a targeted approach to help the schools that are distressed. I don't believe it's the state board or the commissioner that comes up with a plan to fix Little Rock. I believe it's us that has to do that. We're the professionals, we're the educators. We have to create a plan to get our schools moving and going forward. Knowing that, we also have to do things to impact our reading. Because that's one of the key things. We have high school kids that are 4 grades below reading level. Now that's not high school. It's the high school's issue to deal with, yes. But that you have to look back in the pipeline and say something has gone wrong in terms of what we're doing to support students, either with the direct instruction that has to occur, the types of reading programs that we're doing, or with what do we do to intervene to support learners. We can't forget about exceptional children. So we have a special ed task force, and it's almost like a Noah's Ark thing, 2 of 2 and 2 of 2. So 2 kids that are 2 parents that have children with autism, 2 parents that maybe have emotional behavior disorder type children. All sorts of different angles in terms of what we're trying to do to make sure that we listen to parents, people that are going through issues, help us get better. And then Bright Futures. This is very exciting, November 10th. And if some of you would like to be involved in this and interested in participating, we'd love to have at least some members from the church, Reverend Hancock, that could attend this. We are partnered with the city, with Goodwill, the school district, and this is one of those that's collaboration. We're not talking about Little Rock School District, we're just talking about children in general. Could be kids that are in charter schools or in the public schools. But if there's a kid that has a need, and it's impacting their academic environment on a day-to-day basis. The target with Bright Futures, and you can look this one up, you can go to the online, there are multiple districts that are using Bright Futures. It basically says that if we can't figure it out at the school level to get kids shoes that they need, to get a young lady a business-type suit to go do interviews, to have a student that has some form of an eye issue or hearing thing that hasn't been addressed, that we go put this out onto a social media platform, and within 24 hours, that's the target, within 24 hours, we address that need, we address that issue. This has been done in multiple places, and we were doing it in Bentonville, the place where it originated was Joplin, Missouri. It's gone throughout Missouri and Kentucky, and there are multiple school districts in Arkansas. And Little Rock, I'm proud to say, will kick off our program on November 10th. Other things we're trying to do is involve you and the community in terms of a variety of different engagement. That's everything from those community walks that I talked about to being able to have folks involved with us in terms of thinking things out on a variety of these different think tanks and councils. We're working with the business community on two different key things, career development centers. These were not things that Mike came up with. This is what the business community said. Focus on 5 career strands: construction trade, medical prep, technology, aeronautics, and then what I did have an impact on is development of teacher prep programs. Because the teacher prep program makes sense to me is that if we teach kids to get them into that pipeline thinking about being an educator, they actually get to go, as they're doing that program, go and support learners at the middle school and elementary with some intervention. So we're working on that, but we're working on all the other things as well. Project-based learning environments, this really fits in with especially the middle school. So every middle school has, and I've been told I have to be careful, don't use the word themes, don't use the word magnets, because somewhere in the history of Little Rock, someone said themes, magnets, so we're now just calling it partners. Each middle school has a partner. And in my mind, one of the key ways to turn around the middle school is that if we have a project partner, so imagine Dunbar Elementary tied in with Heifer International. Imagine Henderson Middle School tied to the zoo. Pinnacle West, that's just down the road here, tied to First Security Bank. Pulaski Heights, tied to UMAS, just to give a few examples. And those entities come in to say, hey, here's problems and projects. All of you as business leaders, you know that sometimes you develop a list of 12 to 15 things that you want to focus on, but you only have time to really target those 4 or 5. Give the kids one that's your 11th and let them work through it. And then business community comes in. And guess what? The business community comes in. Now you got more adults in the building. You know what? Kids know when no one's around. And when no one's around, even when we were little, or I should say when I was little, that's when I misbehaved usually. Maybe didn't do the right thing always. But if you got multiple adults in, and we're working on project-based learning, what it also does is it helps us with this gap that we're encountering, where we want to teach a grade level and students are behind. If you get relevance for the students and want to make them say, wow, I'm excited, now all of a sudden they're gravitating towards it. It makes it easier for the teacher to pull down and raise the bar. So we're working on that, and I'm very excited about how that's going so far, and we've got more work still to do. Next up is we're working on a student report card. There's got to be a better way in this state to, and I'm not talking about a report card that you as a family would get every quarter. I'm talking about something that comes out at the end of the year that shows, here's how we're doing. Because right now, the metrics that the state uses doesn't really honor what an urban district's all about. If you get 2% growth in an urban district year, 3 successive years, they ought to throw a parade. Okay? But that would not get us out of academic distress as it stands right now. So we've got to kind of, and I'm not trying to make excuses. Hopefully you always are going to hear me be real with you. I've already told you we're going to have kids multiple grade levels that are 3 and 4 grade levels behind. But we also need to take into account the growth that we are seeing within our students. Another thing that we're trying to do is improve our athletics and fine arts. That's a big thing in terms of engagement. It's a big thing in terms of getting kids to believe and be a part of the school environment. And we have fallen behind specifically on athletics, to be honest with you. We have people like Fitzhill that's stepping up, Keith Jackson, and we haven't done this one yet, but we're working on that in terms of trying to create a better partnership to enhance our athletic delivery. Final thing is we can do things with capital improvements. And so there's 2 different things. One is utilization, and the second thing is Southwest Little Rock High School. So there's been a promise that has been given to this community to say we're going to go build a high school on the Southwest. And we have to follow through on that. Now, as I worked on that and listened to everybody and said, well, how are we paying for it? It was not clear how we were going to get that done. So I want to come back to that in a minute, because it also then factors in terms of our utilization. Because we're going to go build a high school in the Southwest, and you're going to combine J. Fair and McClellan into that high school. What do we do to repurpose? What do we do to repurpose even if we're going to do school closures? And so I will come back to that. So if you look at this slide, it's very busy. These are just big things. And if you go to superintendent school, or you go to I've met several of you that are former board members, typically you try to have 2 or 3 big things. You can see we got about 10 big things. But we got to. Because this district needs to have things happen now. And now I'm not a patient guy either. And I think we've got to move forward. So thinking about this in terms of capital improvements in Southwest Little Rock High School, I'm going to ask you as a community, ultimately, to support us at the ballot. Now understand, I'm going to go ahead and throw this up right off the bat so that this is not even a subliminal message. Okay? I don't think we have such a good chance if we ask you for a tax increase. But would you, could you, will you consider just an extension of the debt? Like a second loan, refinancing. And if we do that, and we extend our debt, we can actually generate $160 million. Now we go take care of the high school just right. Second, we can go redo McClellan, possibly make it into a K-8. I don't know whether that's what's going to be done. That's a part of that utilization process. Utilization is not just about what do you think about school closure, it's about what do we think about what we need in this community. I think that K-8s might be a good solution to have them planted in different spots in the community, because one of the things that many young parents freak out about is, wow, I don't know whether I want to have, my students, they want that little bit smaller environment, a little bit more contained. So K-8 options might be good, and especially for McClellan, might be a great option. We can have a district-wide impact by doing this. We can make sure that everyone is getting something that improves their facilities. Some of it can even just be cosmetic. You go into Pulaski Heights. Pulaski Heights Elementary, you walk in there and you say, oh man, old building, love this, wow. So pretty. You go into Pulaski Heights Middle School, it's not that it's dirty or anything else, it just needs a paint job. Okay? And we got to find a way to try to invest back into our buildings. So when you look at this in terms of I want to go fairly quickly through this so I don't cut myself short to other questions. We are working on Southwest High. There's a process of moving forward in terms of consideration and making sure this building is a great building. And we've got a variety of different things that we're trying to do, from creating vision to all the way out to creating the delivery. The delivery depends on when we go to the voters. The more aggressive we are, the sooner we get to school. The more aggressive we are with going to you as a voter, the sooner we get to go support some of the things that need to happen in our plans. We've tried to look at from a variety of different things in terms of what we want to do to make sure that we cover all of our bases with the high school. All these things are important to community, to parents, to teachers, and most importantly to students. So we're including all those different factors as we try to move forward. We've got all sorts of involvement. Right now, I think the big ticket is trying to get, like this past week, the Fine Arts Group all came in and started to say, here's what these spaces need to look like. Everything from cupboards to, where you have the choir settings. The Civic Advisory Group and Mr. Adams, who's been the moderator, he was a part of the Civic group. One of the key things that came out of this, you will find the word fun 4 times. And you may say, well, it wasn't fun for me when I was in high school. Now, and I get that, but what I think of is, when I think of fun, I look at it a little different. It's a kid that can't wait to get to high school. It's a kid that can't wait because he knows that he's going to be engaged, he knows there's going to be opportunities, he knows that he's going to have a setting that's really awesome. And now here's the other cold hard fact when you look at just facilities. And real quickly, the distance between these 2 campuses and where Fair is up here, it actually is right almost the same, just a little over 6 miles for both of them. The space for this campus is right by the Home Depot down on the southwest, if you know where I'm talking about. See that the space here is bigger than it is at Fair. It's also, trying to go. It's also bigger than the one in McClellan. McClellan's really on a cramped facility. McClellan, how many of you have ever been in that high school? Wow, you're going to know, then you can tell your neighbor that didn't raise their hand. It feels like it was built in World War II. There is no kid that is late for class starting in December. You know why? As soon as you leave a classroom, you're outside. So go, they hustle. One time you don't worry about targets. Okay? It's dingy, it's dark. Jay Fair and McClellan have no windows. Think about that. Here's what other people are doing, and why should our kids not have the very same thing? These are facilities that recently have been modified or worked on or built. And you can see that there's a variety of different things here in terms of new campuses and facilities. One thing that I'll tell you, we just got done, obviously, me coming from Bentonville, we just built Bentonville West. We got into our guaranteed maximum price in 2014. So guaranteed maximum price, it's like, whew, at that point, you get to turn it over to the contractor and say, it's all your problem right now because we have agreed on this price, we've got the lowest price, now you have to come in, otherwise it's off what you're going to make. We had our guaranteed maximum price, and it ended up costing $165 a square foot. Our anticipated cost on this building right now, $167. Right now, keep factoring all these things in. Do we really want to do something? Do we really want to wait? Do we take care of this? What's the interest rate right now? Is there a better time to do something like a refinance than right now? Is it the right time to go do something for every kid in this district? Or do we wait? Because I have people that are telling me, wait, be patient. Wait till we get local control back. I understand local control, that's my charge. And that's the charge from the governor, that's the charge from the commissioner, and that has clearly been the charge of every community member that I've talked to. But when I go out into the community and ask, what is it that you want? Those families, and probably you, they're not saying, I'm worried about control. They want to see the school district get better tomorrow. They want to see the school district be even better next year. So we're working on this diligently, and we know that we're going to have to do things at a variety of other campuses besides the Southwest. And you're hearing me say that I'm not the most patient guy. I'm not patient when it comes to kids. I want to see us get better on every end of it. I hope you're seeing that there's some things that we're talking about in terms of the academic environment, the things that we're trying to do with partnerships, and the things that we're going to go do to improve our plants and our facilities. So, to me, now, everything that I brought up and talked about, almost all these things have been discussed or cussed in this community for years. And if there's one thing, again, that I hope that I will bring to you all, is a unification to say, let's go. Let's do. Let's make a reality for our children that we can all be proud of, and let's go do it together. So, it comes back to this. How do you leave today? What's the message you take as an individual? What's the message that this church, wow, I'm doing this good because my phone just rang to tell me it's time to shut up. What's the message that you go do together? Maybe there's 5 or 10 of you. Maybe it's a whole church here that says, here's something we want to go do. Maybe it's your business environment that says, Mike, I saw something on there for middle school or high school, career development or project-based learning. I want to help. You're not going to get told no. What is it that you go do to move somebody else? Because some of the things that happen in this community is we beat, and maybe I'm the guy to say it as a newcomer, and maybe it's not fair, but I'm always trying to be real. We beat each other down in this community. Talk over each other sometimes. And the reality is we just need to continue to focus on making decisions that are going to go make life better for kids tomorrow, make life better for them for next year. So, I get to stop right now, and I hope I timed that just about right. And we get to open it up to questions, and man, there's a hand, when a hand goes up that fast. Whew. So ma'am, I'm gonna listen to your question, I'm gonna try to repeat that back to everybody, so that just in case you can't hear it, and go ahead, please.
May I stand?
Yes, ma'am.
I will call on my school teacher voice to ask this question. What would the community and parents, if they were down to it, what would they say is the number one place to start, not excluding the rest? The number one is student achievement. How do we overcome the issue of kids in junior high and high being 4 reading levels, 4 grade levels behind? There is a gigantic amount of research that tells us that kids must learn to read in the lower levels. When kids learn to read and they start achieving, they're happier. Teachers are happier. Parents look up, they're happier. The community is happier. When companies come into your community and see that kids are achieving, they're happier and ready to listen to you. So there is a number of, and I even hate to use the word programs, but I have one in mind that I would love to speak with you about that has years of proven research that kids can learn to read.
Well, I will look forward to, I don't think I'm going to miss on getting to talk to her afterwards. I think she'll be committed to that. And I don't think I have to repeat the question. I think she had her teacher voice strong and loud. So let me just share a couple thoughts. One of the things, and then sort of I'll go with you next, is that one of the things that we need to understand is we've got to have a better understanding of where our students are in terms of their reading ability. We had previously been using an assessment, and there may be somebody in here that loved it, but I'm going to share that it wasn't a good one. It was called the TLI assessment. And so what it did is it didn't give us enough information as educators to really diagnose where learners are. We moved away from that assessment this year. In fact, it's kind of a shame that we moved away from it. And because the rest of the state had moved away from it 3 years ago, Little Rock was the one that was holding on to it. Now the company went defunct. It tells you a little bit about how things were going. I'll probably get sued for that. But the reality is that you've got to be able to understand and diagnose where students are in terms of their reading levels and their math levels. And then you've got to set up, I think there's 2 other things, especially I think our educators would believe as well. You've got to create environments where teachers really work on professional learning communities. And I think that's an area where we can really grow. Professional learning communities is where teachers get to work together to plan and think out. If you think of an elementary teacher, you're not only teaching reading and writing and mathematics, but you're also teaching science and social studies and a lot of other things that kind of go along within that classroom. And to do that and to do it well, you've got to be able to really have opportunities for teaming. We provide the time, but I'm not sure we do a good enough job of helping with the structure. And there's a professional learning community in districts throughout the country have utilized and worked on. We haven't got much trained in that area. That's something we can grow in. The other thing that is a key part of this is then how do you set up the different levels of support? What do you do within the classroom, which is really what she hit on a little bit, to make sure that you're grabbing the learner's attention and helping them with their reading skills. But then what do you do with kids that need extra time? How do you manufacture that? That's before school, after school programs. And we do some things really well in the district. We also get some great partnerships with churches that actually hold after school tutoring programs. A really good example of that, one of the guys that's on our community advisory board is Coach Larry Clark, who runs a center down in the Southwest. And I've seen the structure of what they do with their help of supportive readers. So I'm excited to hear more of what you're thinking, but there has to be some core things that you do well. And she did it right. You don't want to necessarily turn towards a program. You want to make sure that your technique and your strategies and your ability to have people working together is really important. But to her point, the types of let's just say the delivery in terms of the reading program itself, and I'm sure that's what she's going to talk to me about, is that there can be certain types of programs that you do bring in that can have a bigger impact. And that's why we're having that literacy council, to be honest with you, too, to help guide that. Yes, sir.
Before it's clear, I think everybody here probably was before you started, the multiple and substantial challenges that you have undertaken in this community. There is another challenge, however, that you didn't really address that concerns me, and I know some others, and that is the additional challenge to those that you pointed out of the charter school movement. Now, in the last couple of decades, we've had, and I did come forth in this country to use a voucher system to give to families who wish to remove their children from public schools in their area and send them to another school, a private school. Right, okay. Now, what's the difference between the charter school movement as it is occurring in our community and the voucher system? I mean, your district, our district, traditional public schools is losing the money per pupil that comes out of. We're not only losing the money, we're losing a good student, and we're losing their family's support of our school system. So what's the difference between the voucher system and the charter school system?
Well, I think there's a fundamental difference on the voucher, and the voucher, and there's not that many places. Now, Arkansas did put its foot in the water on this in a recent legislative decisions to allow people to take a voucher for their students to go leave the public schools and go for special ed services. Okay, so this is the first year. I have no idea what the stats are on that at this point, but we did start down that road. Okay. I would tell you that I'm opposed to allowing vouchers to expand. That is not something that I personally believe in. I don't think it's right. If a parent chooses to go with a private school option, I think that that's money that they want to use, then that's something that they get to do, but I don't believe that it should create a voucher opportunity. Charter schools, and I'm going to try to be real, and some of you are going to like this answer and some aren't. I understand that. Many of you, there have been people say, where do you stand on charter? I can remember when I got announced, there was people putting mics in my face. Where do you stand on charter schools? The reality for me on charter schools is, first off, there is a reality. Okay, we have an expansion of charter schools, and in the spring, they were given more seats. Now, right now, there's nothing in front of the state board to add charter seats, but what there is those seats that got approved. My job right now is to do everything that I can to improve what we're doing, to compete better. Here's an example. You talk about trying to recruit. We don't recruit very well. Our idea of recruiting is to say we're going to have an open house. My idea of recruiting is to say, it's kind of almost like when I was a coach. When I was a coach and we were trying to build our program, I assigned my assistants. I assigned me as a head coach. When I was a principal, I assigned my assistant principals, assigned me. And we went down, not just to the middle school as a high school coach or high school principal, we went down to the elementary. And we were there all the time because I wanted to think, wow. And I was bald even back then. Look at that bald guy. Who is he? I'm going to go shake everybody's hand. I'm going to make them aware. And you know what? We got guys doing that right now. Jay Pickering at Pinnacle, Daryl, Frank Williams at Henderson. They're out helping me knock on doors, too. We had, on one of those knock on door things, I hope I'm not taking totally liberty of your question, but on one of those knocks, Frank Williams, principal at Henderson, he runs into a family that went to Lisa. And he go, you're the principal? And the little kids go, wow, he could help us because you're really cool. And the parent goes, well, we should have looked at you probably a little bit more. He goes, you can. Come walk our halls. just compare us. So right now, what we have to do, more than anything, is we have to up our game. We have to get better at improving our reading. We have to get better at engaging our students. We have to use the business community. We have to recruit better. And then the next thing is, to maybe go a little bit further, is that when you then go look at charter school expansion, we actually now, because of all the data that we've been working on, and some of this started with Mr. Curris, and my team, I think, has advanced it, we have a much clearer idea even now than ever of how many things are available in terms of seats and capacity. You'll see some of that data roll out. Right now, the principals are getting to look at it. So you're going to see that if we're going to do anything about changing choice options, we really ought to make sure we understand, what our capacities are and what our deliveries are. And bottom line, what my job right now is, I plan to make this district better, the schools better. Yes, sir.
Spoke about repurposing of, say, K through 8, tagging on the recruitment of reading. Why do we not focus on pre-K through 8 when there are studies and research that indicate that pre-K year is very, very fundamental in the learning?
You just threw me a softball, so thank you. If I don't hit a home run, Mary Ann will hit me. And I talked to someone else before, they said, are you going to bring up pre-K? And I didn't, so I so appreciate, hey, our pre-K works in this district. And we have to have expansion of pre-K. So, and I have talked directly to the governor about this, and he's receptive. Now, you may have heard, and I'm sure there's people in here that are from both parties, and there was a thing done in the northwest part of the state, where I came from, that said we're against charter expansion. But against preschool expansion. The reality, though, for the governor, and when I've talked to him, is he wants to make sure that we go target preschool expansion for those kids who need it the most. And that does make sense to me. And guess what? Little Rock has the need. And so we need to expand. We've got wonderful pre-K centers. We also have some pre-K at the different sites. And so the whole concept of pre-K through 12, you're absolutely correct. And the other thing to know, and maybe go take away from this, is that our preschool students, structured preschool, qualified, certified teachers, that when they come into our program as 3 or 4-year-olds, and we really have a lot more 4-year-olds, we need more 3-year-old spots. Those 4-year-olds, when they get to first grade, when they take the Iowa basic test score, the gap that is there gets eliminated. The gap that we all try to tackle by having that structured preschool program. So we need to expand preschool, and I am fervent in my desire, and you will see my efforts wherever I need to talk that up. And I'm so glad you asked the question, because I would have missed out on an opportunity, and I would have let somebody else down in here that told me I was going to bring that up. Okay, one more question. Yes, sir.
What's the earliest legal time you could have an election to expand the gap?
The earliest would be February, and that's super aggressive. But if we did go February, the one positive would be that it would be able to create a situation where we for sure could have that high school open in 2019. The other thing is if we went in February, and really anywhere in the spring, it would set up because we could go sell the bonds and then be ready to go do projects during the summer to impact a lot of our other buildings. Can we do one more since that was a very quick one? Yes, ma'am. For sure. I'm sorry.
Suppose you have children that are coming to school and they don't speak English. It's not their native language. What does the district do now? What would you like? Are they about right, or would you like to see something additional?
Well, one of the big challenges, and there are many of you that help out at Hall High and understand this dynamic, that we actually ship up 300 students, more or less, from the Southwest to Hall High. And the reason is that it was designed to be an English as a second language learner site. This was done probably 3 or 4 years ago. And so imagine students that are possibly new to our country, still trying to learn the language, and then we move them up across town and bus them for whatever, 30, 45 minutes into a place that they don't really, it's not theirs. that's a part of why this high school will be a very positive thing. The other thing that we do is that right now at the elementary level, we really try to serve students kind of all over. And what's weird is that I hear compliments about what we do at the elementary level, and I hear concerns more at the high school level. And I think that's because, you know, we're taking those things on and trying to help learners that may be struggling with language. We're hitting them right there in their own school, and that's having a positive impact. You may tell me something different, but I really think that our bigger issue on ESL type learners is trying to do a better job for them at the high school level. I think that's where our data shows that we're not making a difference. Thank you, Reverend Hampton.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being here with us this morning. Thank you for what you're doing in our community, for our kids, and for our school system. It's a pleasure and we're like to look forward to working with you in the areas that you're talking about. Mary Ann, thank you as well.